Hey guys, and welcome to Ozzie Reviews. Well, welcome to this month's Q&A, where you guys who support me on Patreon get to ask me a whole heap of different questions, and hopefully I'll be able to answer all of them. So let's get straight into this month's questions. Now the first question is from Kai Davis. He asks, how are you travelling on the Steyr Scout review? I'm itching to hear your thoughts. Thanks mate, and keep up the good work. Kai, you'd be very happy to know I do actually have in my possession the Steyr Scout Ranger in 308. So mate, look, I'm actually hoping to knock over the filming on that one tomorrow. So look, keep an eye out for it. It's definitely coming. I've just had so much gear thrown at me, you know, where people want stuff reviewed. It's honestly at times an impossible task. So I've just got to keep chipping through everything to finally get to you know, the reviews that you guys want to see. So anyhow, it is here, and it's going to be done soon, so keep an eye out for it. Now the next question is from John Economides, and he's asking about the procedure from go to woe when testing different ammunition brands and type for both rimfire and centerfire ammunition. In other words, what he's saying, is it worth cleaning the barrel between testing each type of ammo? Given particularly in rimfire, some premium ammunition has the wax coating such as SK and RWS. So he wants to know if it's going to cross-contaminate and affect the results of the point of impact. Well, good question there, mate. What I usually do with the reviews is when I'm doing a centerfire review, usually I'll just run a patch. Okay, I'll spray a bit of G96 down, just run a single patch through in between the actual groups, and then what I'll usually do is I'll fire the first shot just into the actual, you know, backstop, and then I'll actually shoot for groups. Because what I find sometimes is when you change that ammunition with centerfire, that first shot sometimes shoots, you know, an inch out from where the rest will actually group. So the point of impact can definitely change. With the rimfire ammo, now it's really funny with rimfire ammo, and it depends on which rifle you use and what ammunition you're using to where that point of impact will be. So what I usually find with that is once I change to a different ammunition, you don't necessarily have to clean it like you do a centerfire. However, I'd like to just spray a little bit of G96 down there, just the same as what I do with the centerfire, and just put a patch straight through. But what I find is you usually have to put a mag, you know, so 10 rounds on average before you start shooting for groups, because I find that it just settles it into that new ammunition, and especially when you start using a lot of those high-end European manufacturers that have the wax on the projectiles. So that's usually what I do, and I find I get decent enough results with that. Now the next question here is from Edward Gayton, and he asks two questions. First of all, what do I sight a 308 in at, what distance? You know, and he's using it for shooting pigs and, you know, shooting from the back of the ute and so forth, and a little bit of range work. And then the second part to his question is, do I have a dream car? And if so, what is it? Okay, so first of all, 308, I like to sight in at 100 yards, okay? I mean, it'd be different if you were shooting at the range and you're shooting long distance. I'd probably sight in a little bit further. But 100 yards, you know, that's going to be ample for what you're doing. As for a dream car, mate, honestly, you know, I used to like a lot of, I actually used to own an FPV. I had the FPV Tornado ute, and I really enjoyed that ute. The only problem was that it was, you know, just chewing so much fuel all the time. You know, that big Garrett turbo, as soon as you hit about, you know, 2,200 RPM, you just hear it just sucking that fuel. So you know, I really like the FPVs, and I know there's probably a lot of guys out there that, you know, the Holden Ford argument and stuff like that. I just enjoyed the FPVs, but for an ultimate dream vehicle, I wouldn't say so much a car, but, you know, I'd say like a fully decked out, you know, like V8 type four-wheel drive, you know, with just all the extras on it, from, you know, suspension and really decent four-wheel drive tyres, something like that I could use that's pretty practical. Although I must admit, I do have a soft spot for the FPV, and you know, that'd probably, you know, be closely in there with my dream car, although I've already had one, so maybe it's not a dream car. But anyhow, you get the idea. Now next question here is from Thor Jensen, Now, he's got a couple of questions in regards to the feral pest control and how that works. So firstly, he says, what's the minimum amount of shooting contracts required to obtain the license? Secondly, on the police website, it says the license for Cat D can only be held for 5 years. So what happens if during this time all your contracts expire and you don't have a contract for X amount of time? Are you required to surrender your firearms and license before the license expires? Even if you're actively searching for contracts. Thirdly, what are the maximum number of Cat D firearms you can have under that license? Okay, so let's start from the top. Yes, to obtain the license, you want to really have 4 contracts as a minimum. Okay, now the wording on those contracts, okay, it's about an agreement, and it's not for like just a year. There's no expiry on it. All there is a contract agreement between yourself and a property owner to provide feral pest control, and results will be payment based. It's as simple as that. So in that time, if for example like the contract doesn't expire, if you get what I mean there, so that's just a letter saying people require your services, and there's no expiry on it. So the only time that you have to come up with contracts again is when you renew that license. So when you renew it, yes, 5 years. It's the same even if you have a category C license, okay, for like primary production and stuff. Like you have to renew it after 5 years, okay? It's only an A and B license at this stage that is for 10 years. Yeah, they should all be 10 years. I mean, honestly, they should all be unlimited. You know, unless you do something wrong that would require police to remove that from you, in my view. So, but anyhow, it is 5 years. The maximum amount that you can have of Cat D firearms on your license there for feral pest control, it's clearly there in Queensland under the weapons regulation, and it says a maximum number of 2. So usually you'll have a 223 and then you'll have a 308. The reason why a lot of feral pest controllers have 308 is it's really the required minimum for aerial contract shooting, okay? And plus, when you're out there and you're doing feral pest control, like you might have a contract for scrub balls like I did. Now, you know, you can't do that with a 223. You need to be humane, you need to have the right equipment. So I hope that answers your question. Now, James Irvine says here, I've got a question about reticles. What do you like? Are you an MOA or, you know, or a mill fan? Do you like dots or lines on your hunting guns? So basically he's just trying to see which I like, and you know, do I actually like those lines and dots? There's a little bit more about it, but it's more about his personal experience with what he had to shoot with at the range, and just wants my feedback. Look mate, I'm a MOA person. Yeah, and a lot of people say that. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but in a lot of the reviews and comments, you know, I get it from time to time where people go, you know, what the hell are you doing talking in yards and all that sort of thing. Well, when I was younger and, you know, I first went to the range and stuff like that, just like a lot of the ranges now, they are still in yards, okay? So they're still 100 yards, 200 yards, because, you know, they were built way back in the day, you know, before the metric system came in. So that's the distances they're at. The other reason why I do like, you know, talking in imperial terms, and, you know, once again, MOA instead of mil, is because I find using the American system is a lot easier when you're purchasing ammunition. You understand like the foot-pounds of energy, you understand like the trajectory with the, you know, the different measurements in inches. You can adjust that easily on your scope when you understand it. And let's face it, like 90% or more of the ammunition and accessories is from the USA. So look, I just really haven't made that conversion to mils, and I haven't made the conversion to meters and stuff as well, because like if you said to me, you know, like how many joules does a 308 hit with? I mean, I wouldn't have a clue. You know, you see that on the back of like Seiko ammunition, Norma ammunition, that sort of stuff, you know, but if you ask me about how many foot-pounds per square inch does, you know, a 308 hit at or whatever, like, I'll tell you straight away, depending on the bullet weight, because that's what I'm used to and that's what I was brought up, you know, learning. So I guess I'll never go away from it. I mean, you know, it's just how I learn, and it's how I understand different things. But of course, you know, I can talk about meters with just distance and stuff in general. But as soon as someone starts talking about shooting, or a distance where, you know, like if I've shot a pig or something like that, I immediately convert back to yards, and that's only because of my upbringing. Okay, so to answer that last part of your question is with regards to, you know, whether I like lines and stuff like that. Now, it depends on what shooting I'm doing. You know, as most people know, I'm a real big fan of the Trijicon AccuPoint scopes, 3 to 9 by 40. I've got 3 of them now. You know, I've got the ones with the mil dot reticle, so yeah, it sounds confusing because it is in mils, but I don't use it to the typical mil calculation. All I do is when I've got that scope on whatever rifle, I work out where each mil dot drops that point of impact at different distances. So that's how I sort of use it. I don't like a real busy reticle, put it that way, because let's face it, when you're out and you're shooting and you see some game, like, you haven't got time to be working out, oh, what's my drop here and all the rest of it. I mean, it's different if you're shooting long range and, you know, you've got a long range heavy barrel varmint set up. Sure, you might have the time to do that, but when you're out hunting, you go after pigs and things like that, honestly, just 1 or 2, you know, different compensators on that vertical reticle post is all you need. I mean, you don't even really need it, but if you want to have something, you can have that. So not so much a big fan of really busy reticles. I like something that's very basic. You can pick straight up, your eye will zoom straight into it, and you can simply take the shot. And through pure experience, you will learn from actually shooting whatever caliber and rifle combination that you've got. You'll learn where that bullet drop is and everything like that. So then you'll make the adjustments on the scope. You might side in it like 20 yards further or something like that. So all it is just repetition, and then you'll find your niche. So that's the best advice I can give with that. Now, Gavin Greaves asks about here, he's talking about different ballistic dials on different scopes, and basically talking about his own experiences. But then he says down below, I prefer a circle of a horseshoe reticle, but do you know of a scope that has a red dot as well as the circle style reticle, so I can sharpen up my shots when I want to? Yes, mate, I do. The last review I did on the Seiko Black Bear, that Swarovski Z6i, the 1 to 6x24, I mean, it's illuminated, it had red dot, and it had the circle around it as well. So when you turn the illumination on, the red dot and the circle illuminated. If you don't want that, and you just want the red dot, but you want the circle not illuminated, have a look at the new Mark AR from Loophole, because it's actually got a green dot, and then the circle around it isn't illuminated. If you wanted to stick to an actual red dot, have a look at Schmidt & Bender, because they've got a couple of different ones there. They've got, depending on which line you go into, but they've got ones where you've got the red dot and then the circle that's not illuminated around it, but then you've got other ones where the red dot and the circle around it is both illuminated. So, mate, a couple of different options there, but, you know, Swarovski, Schmidt & Bender, getting up there in price. If you want to come in at a lot lower price, have a look at that Mark AR from Loophole. Okay, so we've got a fun question here from Chris Farr, and he says, does Cooper have any favourite tricks he can do, and can he be present to perform a few for the Q&A? Okay, so if you haven't seen my video on raising and training the Amstaff or the Pit Bull dog, have a look at it, because it's got all the different tricks that he can do. However, just prior to turning the tape on here, I had to wash him because I've just come back up to the house, and I've been into town, and anyhow, he's filthy as can be. He's been rolling in all the dirt and everything, so I've just had to bath him. So he's actually sitting right here beside me on the couch, so I'll grab the camera for you, and then we'll get him up to do a few tricks. I don't know how he's going to be, because once he has a bath, he's extremely frisky, just runs around all silly, like most dogs do. So anyhow, let's grab the camera now, and we'll see if we can get him to do some tricks. Come, sit, sit. Come on, spin around. Good boy. Sit. Shake hands. Other one. Other one. Hey, good boy. Roll over. Roll over. Up. What else do you want to do? Bang, bang. Sit down. Come on, sit. That'll do you. Get out of the bin. There's nothing in there for you. Alright guys, so that wraps it up for this month. So thanks very much to those of you who sent in the different questions. I always enjoy answering the questions and helping you out where I can. If you want to be a part of this, guys, all you got to do is just jump onto Patreon. I know a lot of people are pushing the Patreon thing, you know, of late. You know, that's due to YouTube taking a lot of the revenue off a lot of the gun channels. However, look, it's $1 a month. You know, people say, oh, I can't afford it, or 25 cents a week. You'd probably spend more on electricity turning your computer on to watch YouTube than what it would to pitch in and help out. Anyhow, guys, thanks very much for watching. So we'll catch you next time.